Alan.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about yourself? How you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, that's great to hear that. And for those who don't know, we're joined by sensational boxer and Scott Brouwer. And well, I know that you got a lot of pictures back there. It looks real nice. So we'll
There-
start.
There's a story. There's a story to that actual to the collage that's put together. So I had a burglary in my house a couple of years ago, and so my neighbour he said, look, you need to get people to know that if they break into your house, they're taking a big risk. So he had the collage made for me, and I'm just supposed to put it somewhere in the doorway so if people try and get in, they see it. But unfortunately, it's sitting behind me in my office.
Yeah, it looks great. A lot of great pictures. You got some great neighbor there who did a lot of work.
Yeah, look, really appreciate it. It was it was awesome.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. And speaking about boxing, at what point did you say, you had actually a pretty nice upbringing? What point did you say, you know what, I'm going to get into boxing?
Well, interestingly, you interviewed Lester Ellis on your
Yeah.
show not that long ago, and it was actually watching Lester Ellis compete that on television that got me really interested in the sport. And yeah, I was absolutely inspired by what Lester was able to do, and it was partly because I had a very similar body shape to his, and for a lot of the traditional sports that I liked, I was a bit too small for playing Aussie rules football. I was no good at it as well, but I was a bit small for it also. And watching Lester compete, I thought, oh wow, that's my body shape. That's something that I could do. It just like it leapt out of the TV and grabbed me. I was fortunate enough that my trainer lived just down the road from me, so I hassled him to start training me. To which he wouldn't actually train me. Because I did live in a suburb at the time where there were no fighters. It was not an area where fighters came from, and he'd recently moved to the area, and I knew that he was a boxing coach, so I said, "Oh, excuse me, Lee, will you train me?" He said, "No." And he said, "Look, that's a part of my life that's behind me now. I've moved to this area. There's no gym here. It's just not going to happen." And I just kept hassling him. So I just go around every week and just knock on his door and say, "Lee, will you train me? Lee, will you train me?" So eventually he thought, well, at least you've got one thing, and that's persistence. So that was the key. I may not have had many other skills, but persistence is one that I did have, and that was what convinced my trainer to start coaching me, and it was the same trainer I had right through my whole career.
That's fantastic. And when you started training, did you say, hey, this boxing thing is not what I watched from Lester? It's actually more difficult or easier. What were your thoughts when you actually were in the mix of it?
Oh, so interesting that my folks sort of played coy. So my parents are like, and they've said since what they expected was as soon as I got smacked in the face, I was going to just turn around and go, yeah, no, don't. This is not for me. But as it turned out, obviously it's a lot harder than what anybody expects. But it was something that I just saw that as a challenge, and it was like, oh wow, this is really difficult. It's really hard to get. Just the coordination of it. There's everything about it was. None of it came easy, but at the same time, I guess I had some natural flair where, okay, I could hold my hands up, I could throw, as I could learn the punches, and it was something I went, oh yeah, okay, and I had, for my weight, I was quite tall, so I had some natural attributes that were going to help me, and yes, it was more difficult. That's a very long answer to your question.
No, it's all right. And was there a punch that you actually liked throwing the most? Was there a favorite punch you had?
Yeah, look, and again, I think it was probably Lester Ellis inspired. The left rip to the body was the punch that I thought was the best weapon to be able to use. Now, I did get the opportunity. So I spent a lot of time sparring Lester as well. So I got hit with a lot of left rips in my time. So therefore, it probably helped evolve my appreciation for the left rip that I wore that many of them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's an art that a lot of people don't use. They sometimes don't throw to the body enough. Talk about the effectiveness of a good left hook to the body.
And that's the thing. Like people, I would much rather get hit in the head than hit in the body. But the body hurts. It just stops you. If you get hit with a good left rip, it just basically makes all of your senses shut down. It's just like that your whole body just goes into this sort of shock, like, oh my God, I can't move. I can't breathe. I can't move. I know logically to keep my hands up, but they want to come down. It's just debilitating. So yeah, it's a perfect shot to be able to set so many other things up. And I guess the perfect left hook to the body, he's going to land right on the liver and be, just one of those classics where you see them basically fold and drop in front of you. That's the ultimate. But can't say I landed too many that were that good, but it was always the ambition was to try and land that shot.
Yeah, so that's great. And you like you mentioned, you've been in there sparring with Lester, Barry Michael, and who we also had on our show. They said that some of the people said that maybe you sparred too good a competition that kind of hurt in the long run. Do you agree with that?
Oh, look, no, I don't. I don't think I was ever going to have a long career. Like, I think, I was never going to be one. I turned professional at 18. So, it's at the youngest age you can. I literally had to, well, there was one caveat, my folks, that I had to finish school. So I had to get finishing my year 12 school certificate. I had to get that before I was allowed to have my first pro fight. So that was fine. So I did that. And then within a couple of, I was basically registered the next day. Within a few weeks, I was having my first pro fight. Ended up having two pro fights that year before, after school had finished. So that was at 18. Look, it was hard spars, and things have evolved today where the training, people are a lot smarter in the way they train these days, and wouldn't probably have the same hard sparring sessions that as often as what we had back when we were doing it. And but that didn't have a negative effect on lots of other people. Barry Michael was able to have a long career, Lester had a long career. So the fact that I was copied off those blokes, and Jeff Fennick was another one who I sparred a lot as well. And that was, for me, it was just an amazing experience. So these are idols and people that you look up to, and I still look up to and admire them today. And obviously got a very different relationship with them now because none of them have to punch me in the face. But they're guys I can still see and talk to, and there's camaraderie that comes from getting in the ring and sharing the ring, even if it's just sparring. You're still putting something on the line, even though it's big gloves, headgear. But you do build that respect and camaraderie for each other that people probably don't expect outside the sport, can't really understand just how much respect and that builds, and how much self-confidence and that it builds in yourself as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And with Barry Michael as well as Lester, how is your relationship with them today, and what do you look at when you see them today? What do you think about those two guys?
Oh, look, they're absolute legends in my eye. I still completely admire, and the fight that those two guys had, that has it's an inspirational fight for even people today. It might have been 35 years ago, but but it's still one that people talk about. It's still, and to see those two guys together is brilliant. Like to see Lester and Barry together in they get a lot of shows where they don't turn up together, but they cross paths at the shows, and it's just fantastic to see two guys that went to war and had such a battle, to see them now together as really good mates. It's a bit like it's a bit like a school reunion. You don't see people every day, but when you do catch up, you relive these memories and you kind of step back in time, and it's a bit like that when I catch up with them, and I think it's a bit like that when they catch up with each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you mentioned that they had longer careers than you specifically, Scott. When did you say to yourself, this is about it, and my career is coming to an end? When did that point come to your mind?
Well, it came to my mind when I got stopped in 2 rounds in Noumea by the French champion Charles Beau. But that fight was a couple of weeks after my wife had a child. It was clear to me then that I had a mortgage, I had a wife, I had a child, I had other responsibilities that boxing was never going to pay the bills. The the money wasn't there. And yeah, the reality was, as much as I had confidence and self-belief, I just wasn't as good as I thought I was. And I had to come to that realization. And at 23, I look at 23-year-olds now, and because I finished when I was 23. I look at 23-year-olds now and I go, they're kids. Like they haven't even really started their careers. I can't. When I look back, it's like I was finished before I probably even should have started. It was yeah. So from 18 to 23, were the years that I fought professionally, and it was awesome time of my life. I loved every single minute of it. Even if there's things you go, oh, yeah, you must have hated that, or training was hard, sure, but it was fun at the same time. You got to meet people that you don't normally meet. We never had a gym, because remember I said that where I came from, there was no gym. We never had a gym, so I never had a central gym. I would train all over Victoria, and we would go and get sparring that was like something like an opponent, and that was fun too, because I was welcomed, which was great. I was welcomed into gyms, but when you go into a new gym, you kind of got to prove yourself, and everyone's going to have a crack at you. So there was always that bit of competition, friendly competition, but always that bit of competition, which always sort of kept you a little bit on edge. And again, that was great. They're sort of like life lessons and things that you learn about just challenges and how you face up to things, and how people perceive things. They're all lessons that you learn. And I'm a much better person having had a boxing career than I would have been otherwise.
Yes, and definitely not too many people could say the same, that they've had the accolades you have. And now you're actually doing financial advising. You were doing that before your career actually ended. Talk about that.
Sure. So I studied. So the great thing about for me was, all my mates when we were studying, they'd all be out, working at bars or doing odd jobs. I just go and fight every few months and I'd get paid. So that was my job. My part-time job during study was to be a pro fighter. So it was great. So I studied as an accountant, and I really didn't like it, and that then led me into the path of being a financial advisor. So I could still use those skills, but in a different way. So the way I like to think of it is that accounting tends to look at what's been and gone. So it's looking at what has happened. Financial planning is about looking at what's going to happen and helping create a future for things or for people. So it's a great career. I've thoroughly, I still do it. It's a business that I'm very passionate about, and I'm thoroughly enjoy working as a financial advisor. But I also have a role in combat sports. So
Yes.
I'm a board member of the Victorian Professional Boxing and Combat Sports Board, which I've done for a number of years now, and it's that for me is the ability to give back to the sport. Boxing's done so much for me. I can turn up at all these events and give something back, and in a small way try and repay my debt to boxing, because I do owe it a lot.
Yeah, and that role that you have now is making sure that the sport is done fairly and clean. Talk about that role that you have now to make sure that everything is on the up and up.
Yeah, so in the state of Victoria, there are only two sports that are actually run under an act of parliament. One is horse racing, and the other one is combat sports. So it's all combat sports. So it's boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA that we're involved in. Obviously, my passion and preference is the boxing, but I thoroughly enjoy all the other combat sports as well. But if given a choice, boxing's the one that I favour. And the role, because it is a government regulator role, it has a number of things that have to be done that are regulatory requirements, but the key overlay is around health and safety of the sport. So, and the people that are competing in the sport. So how do you improve the health and safety of the boxer, and make sure that things like making sure that the gloves are proper, making sure that their hands are taped up properly, making sure that that the weight gap isn't too, at the weigh-in, that there's not too big a gap between the two fighters to put someone at a big disadvantage. We appoint the doctors, we appoint the officials. So there's a sports integrity piece to it as well, where you're just trying to make sure that as much as you can, that every bout that's held, that the integrity is up there, and you know that what you're getting is a good competitive bout of evenly matched, and they're not all evenly matched. People are going to say, "Oh, that's rubbish." There's mismatches all the time, but as much as possible that they're, very as where you can, that they're evenly matched. But you certainly know that the health and safety is the key plank that we're working with.
Yeah, making sure everybody's safe is key. And do you enjoy the role?
Oh, it's fantastic. I get to sit ringside at all the fights. I get to go in the dressing rooms and talk to all the fighters. We register, so every competitor that fights professionally in Victoria, we register. So we register them all. We register all and train all the officials, and and being able to appoint the officials. So the appointing the officials is a good thing too, because people think, oh, the promoter's got this, potentially, they've got a relationship with. They don't. That we appoint the officials. Unless there's a particular reason why some promoter or fighter or someone doesn't like an official, they get no say in it. We're appointing them. So people sometimes say, oh, this is all corrupt and it's all this. It's just rubbish. It's just social media stuff that gets out there, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And those officials too. I mean, it's their integrity that's being questioned, and these guys put a lot of time and effort into being as good as they can be, whether it's as a referee or a judge. They're putting their time and effort into it, and it's pretty disrespectful to suggest that they're not doing it with the right intent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's those little things can cause a lot of damage to people's careers. What are the things that are misconceptions that people have in combat sports?
Oh, look, I think there's quite a few. I think one of them is that that it's a kind of a Rafferty's rules. Like there's no rules. It just make it up as you go along, and it's extremely structured. It's a very structured environment that the people are in, and it is a lot of mums might be worried about their sons and daughters participating in combat sports, and as much as possible there is safety in there. We are trying to protect people and make sure that if somebody's son or daughter is competing, that they're being matched appropriately, that there are a set of rules. There's a doctor there at every show, and in Victoria the doctor can stop the fight. So a lot of places around the world that's not the case. Only the referee can stop the fight, whereas here both the referee and the doctor can stop it. So these are things that people don't necessarily realize that are in place to help protect.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that too, that a doctor where you're at can go in and stop the fight, which is good.
Yeah, it is good, but it's amazing how many people arc up about it. It's and they, particularly if they're from interstate or international, and they're like, "What, the doctor? What does the doctor know about it?" It's like, well, the doctor's probably knows a lot more than you do about if someone getting concussed, or if a cut is that bad that the fight should be stopped. But that's a referee's job. It's for him to do. He's a person that can do it. Doctor's another person that can do it. You're the cornerman. You can do it as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you also part of a foundation too. Tell us about the Future 2 Foundation.
Yeah, so the Future 2 Foundation, that's a good one for you to pull that one up. The Future 2 Foundation is it's a charitable organisation that is part of the Financial Planning Association. So financial planners are all the back end of the Future 2 Foundation, and it supports children and in basically helping kids from underprivileged backgrounds who often don't have the resources or the funding to get all the opportunities in life that other people get. One of the organisations that I've been privileged enough to be able to help raise money for is the South Sudanese in my local area, and they there's been some issues with integration, and so one of the key things that we did is raise money so they could buy basketballs. They're naturally awesome basketballs. They actually make quite good boxers and kickboxers too, by the way. But their main sport that they love is basketball. They're as a gross generalization, they're tall, they're athletic. Basketball suits them down to the ground. So it doesn't cost a lot of money to buy some basketballs, get some shirts, get a team together, start integrating, suddenly they're integrating with other kids because now they're playing sport and they're awesome. So yeah, other kids are going, yeah, oh wow, how good! I want that kid on my team. It's so suddenly from not being included, not being spoken to, and being isolated and saying, okay, well these guys are over here, and that suddenly like, we want you on my team. Come and join. It's actually that merging of cultures together, and purely from a few basketballs. Yeah, how easy is it and how good is sport to be able to do that and pull people together?
Oh, that's awesome. And how do people, support your foundation and support you for that?
Yeah, look, it's mainly just financial planners actually that do it. So so we have events and financial planners will tip in, or we might have it might be a raffle or a door prize, stuff like that, where we'll just raise money at events. Usually every couple of months we'll run something and just try and raise a bit of money. There's a couple of big events. So there's the AFL Grand Final is probably the biggest sporting thing in Melbourne, and the FPA has a big Grand Final lunch during the week in the lead up to the Grand Final. So they raise a lot of money for Future 2 at that event, and also the Melbourne Cup. So we're probably one of the only places in the world that has a public holiday for a horse race. So that when the Melbourne Cup's on, basically the whole country stops, and so a lot of the other states actually do things where they can raise money for Future 2 on the back of the Melbourne Cup Calcuttas and things that they run.
I'll make sure we keep an eye on that. And one thing that people don't know about you is that one of the iconic albums that affected you was Nirvana, Nevermind. Talk about that album and how it really impacted you.
Oh, look, I think maybe not that specific, but there's a number. I think there's a lot of songs in that you go through, and there's a whole bunch of different musicians and different songs that impact you and get you. Can kind of get you up for a fight. And in fact, I love some of the walk-in music that people play as they do come into fight. I used to come into a song, and unfortunately, it was a good song. It was called "This Time I'm Playing to Win," and it was sung by Johnny Farnham. But I didn't realize. I just liked the lyrics and the title. "This time I'm playing to win." It's a love song. So it's actually it's not like a slow beat love song, but if you actually listen to all the lyrics, other than the bits that I wanted to hear, which is I'm playing to win, he was playing to win the love of a woman was what he was playing to win, which is definitely not my intention when I was getting out there to fight. But there's so many good songs that are just awesome to train to and to help, the lyrics to help get you up and about and put you in the right frame of mind. Although there is a fighter who's about coming out in a couple of weeks called Jade Mitchell, and Jay comes out to Culture Club. Why are you always trying to hurt me? So I'm sure he's not the first to do that, but he's just one that comes to mind that comes out to that song. We had a Muay Thai fighter here who used to come out to the Wiggles Big Red Car. Now I don't know if you've got young kids little kids, like literally it's a song for 3-year-olds. It's not a song for adults. There's no adult that would choose that song as their walkout song. It always got a laugh.
Yeah, so you got to choose that song wisely.
But I remember, like, it's one of those. It's memorable because it was something completely different, like Big Red Car. Like that's a kid song.
That's definitely lighten up the mood of the whole arena.
Yeah, correct. You just don't expect a fighter to come out to it. There. I guess there's some classics. These days, I guess it's more that there's much more urban sort of music comes out now that a lot of them come out to, and I've got to say, A, the lyrics are too fast for me, and B, I'm not sure I actually understand them. But it's and there's a lot of trash language in some of those songs as well, which I'm not sure is great for some of the younger audiences there. But I think it's so quick that they don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah, so you get all of it. And the person that was so kind to accept this interview was Glenn Earnshaw, top fan of yours. And speak about having a fan at this time named Glenn.
Oh, look, it's really humbling to have anybody even remember the fact that I used to fight. And so when Glenn reached out and asked if I'd like to do it, like I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. And then some of the other people that guests that you've had in the past, it's like, well, these are amazing guys. Like these are brilliant fighters. They're iconic names in Australian boxing, and it's like, geez, I'm a long way down that list. So I appreciate that the opportunity to be able to speak to you and to be able to share a platform that those other guys who really are iconic and brilliant representatives of Australian boxing and things that they've achieved. To be on a platform that's been the same as them, just magnificent.
Yeah, so it's an honor to have you here, and definitely glad to have you, Scott Brouwer. We're going to make sure we follow you going forward. And for those people who are thinking about doing bad things, do not bother Scott Brouwer's house anymore.
That's right. Get out of there. Stay out. It's happened twice. It actually,
wow, twice.
They pinched the car. They pinched two of my kids' cars one time, and they pinched my wife's car. So they never took my car, so that was good. But they took both my kids' cars the first time, and then came back a year later and took my wife's car.
Yeah, so make sure don't do that anymore, guys, or males or females.
That's it. Stay away.
All right. But we appreciate you joining us here on the Alan and Aaron Sports Radio Show. It's been a real pleasure. And definitely stay safe out there and be well.
Alan, thank you, and to all the boxing fans. There's a lot of great things happening in Australian boxing, and Alan, for you to be highlighting some of the people from the past and the present, because you've had Joel on Camilleri recently. Really appreciate what you do and the assistance that you're giving to boxing all around the world.
Oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate you saying that. We'll continue to strive forward and give you some great interviews for people from past and the present.
Well done. Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. Take care now.
Cheers.